300,000 rebel troops moved across the land while the rest of the population either died or fled. White Wolf observed that Yuzhou, Jizhou, and Qingzhou had already seen thousands of miles turn into wasteland, and the plains had become empty. She asked whether the court had sent any new officials north. Cheng Dalei questioned who would willingly come to a place with no people and no food. White Wolf reminded him that Yuzhou was the empire's last frontier in the north, and without a capable general guarding it, the way into the empire would remain open to the rings. Li Wanner asked whether that meant the Ring tribe would come again. Cheng Dalei explained that the empire was already breaking apart, with regional marquises holding separate territories and competing to expand their own power. He reflected that while the empire fought itself, no one had expected the Ring tribes beyond the border to be watching its wealth and disorder. He believed that once the unrest on the grasslands ended, a new king of a unified Ring tribe would likely try to invade the empire again. Li Wanner added that the Rings had once only cared about raiding and had never known how to govern cities properly, but that would no longer protect the empire if a ruler with both talent and ambition appeared among them. Cheng Dalei considered that unlikely, since the grasslands had very few educated people who could support that kind of rule. Li Wanner brought up the ninth prince, Jin Wendao. Cheng Dalei dismissed him at once and claimed that he had already broken that man's spirit, so even if Jin Wendao became king of the Ring tribe, he would never accomplish much. Li Wanner answered that talent and ambition could be shaped over time, and that chaos always produced capable people. Cheng Dalei accepted that point, but asked who could possibly train such a person, since talent did not appear out of nowhere. Li Wanner then remembered that Cheng Dalei's sixth brother was still in Luofeng City in Yuzhou. She warned that if the Rings invaded, he would be among the first to face them. Cheng Dalei immediately understood that he needed to prepare for that possibility. The group continued traveling while discussing the state of the empire. At first, White Wolf and Ni Yinyang followed the discussion, but as it continued, they understood less and less. White Wolf remarked that Cheng Dalei had started thinking far more deeply than before, and that in the past only Madame Su had been able to follow his thoughts. Now Princess Mingyu seemed to have reached that level as well. Cheng Dalei described Li Wanner as his own Zhuge. When Li Wanner asked who Zhuge was, he explained that the name belonged to an ancient strategist. He then made his meaning clearer and told her that he needed her the way a fish needed water, and that she was special to him. Li Wanner laughed with obvious satisfaction, and Cheng Dalei confirmed that she truly was special in his eyes. He then compared that connection with the responses he would have received from the others. Xiao Ying had become fully devoted to their daughter, and would likely have pushed him outside rather than let him disturb the child's sleep. Xiaoji would probably have admitted that she did not understand such matters and only wanted to stay close to him. Li Hua would more likely have dragged him off to drink. He concluded that the difference had nothing to do with abandoning old affection for new affection. Li Wanner was simply different from the others. That thought led him to wonder whether he was truly admired or whether he had become like the notorious Wei Xiaobao. He briefly considered either living like that kind of man or cutting everything off and refusing their feelings outright, but neither choice suited him. He could not abandon any of them, and he could not bear to watch them cry. He also knew that Xiao Ying did not seem to mind new women entering the courtyard, as long as her position as the main empress remained secure. In the end, he forced himself to stop thinking about it, remembering the trouble that had followed when he first brought Li Hua home. To him, power and wealth could be discarded without regret, but he had no intention of giving up the people he loved. White Wolf then mocked him and remarked that men who killed easily in the martial world often turned out to be lustful as well. She asked when his cruel habits would ever change. Cheng Dalei reacted at once and insisted that he was not cruel at all, but rather extremely faithful, and he objected to being slandered. White Wolf asked whether he truly believed that himself. Cheng Dalei faltered, and before he could recover, Li Wanner bit him. He cried out and asked why she had picked up the same habit as Xiao Ying, then begged her to stop. White Wolf watched with open contempt and muttered about the nature of men. Ni Yinyang remained silent while the journey continued. They reached a canyon where a river ran into the mountains, and White Wolf told them they had arrived. Cheng Dalei asked how they would enter the hidden place. White Wolf answered with a sharp whistle that carried through the valley. 2 sentries in small boats heard it from deeper inside the canyon. One of them recognized the signal and informed the others that White Wolf had returned. White Wolf told the group to follow her and explained that they would enter the stronghold by boat. In the era of Great Wu, Cheng Dalei continued the journey with his companions. By evening, they gathered at the riverbank and boarded the boats with their horses. The waterway wound forward until it reached its source, where a waterfall concealed an opening behind the cliffs. The boats moved through a bend in the rocks and passed behind the falling water. The passage narrowed so much that only one person could move through at a time. They continued through the dark tunnel for dozens of steps. The cavern then opened into a vast, hidden valley. When the boat emerged, Cheng Dalei admitted that he now understood why White Wolf had been unwilling to move to his territory. Li Wanner openly admired the place. They had arrived at the hidden sanctuary known as Apricot Blossom Heart Ridge. White Wolf remarked that although she had only heard stories of Peach Blossom Spring, this ridge matched it. Cheng Dalei laughed at the comparison. White Wolf invited everyone to drink together. After night fell, the ridge gathered around a large bonfire in celebration. People danced while others prepared food and drink. Sima Qian sat among companions who offered her wine and dishes from the feast. Ni Yinyang ate nearby while Cheng Dalei, Li Wanner, and White Wolf rested together. A resident brought over a pitcher of homemade apricot blossom wine and urged them to share a cup. Cheng Dalei remarked that building a settlement like this in only 2 years was an extraordinary accomplishment. White Wolf explained that the real credit belonged to Sima Qian. When Cheng Dalei asked how they had met, White Wolf recalled the time when the people of the ridge had tried to flee to Jiangnan and were scattered by those pursuing them. She had led a group of survivors through the wilderness and hunger had nearly killed them. Their luck changed when they encountered Sima Qian. Cheng Dalei watched Sima Qian laughing and guessed that her reasons for helping might not have been entirely pure. White Wolf rejected that idea and explained that Sima Qian often thought like a thief, but lacked the nerve to act on reckless impulses. She remembered Sima Qian confronting them and asking whether White Wolf truly intended to watch her people starve. White Wolf admitted that she had mistaken Sima Qian for a bandit at first and had prepared to defend herself with a blade. Cheng Dalei immediately asked whether she had actually attacked. White Wolf paused, and Cheng Dalei complained that the attack had apparently never happened. White Wolf ignored him and continued. Sima Qian had been the one who found this sanctuary for them. Her help preserved many lives, and White Wolf remained grateful despite Sima Qian's strange interest in building a harem. They also understood that Sima Qian could not support the settlement by herself, so they entered into a partnership. Sima Qian spent most of her time traveling and writing, while the residents engraved and printed her work with movable type. White Wolf then carried the finished books to market and traded them for supplies. Cheng Dalei realized that the books he had seen circulating over the past few years had been produced here. White Wolf explained that the arrangement allowed the people of the ridge to live well without leaving their hidden home. She poured another drink and turned the conversation toward future cooperation. White Wolf then asked Cheng Dalei what he intended to do about their partnership from that point onward.